Perfect. All right. So thank you everyone for joining. We are live in our home buyer powwow. This is our first one this year, so I'm super excited to bring this to you. I have amazing experts with us. I got 3 realtors with us, you guys. So 3 experts to talk about some amazing things. I've got our title agent, Elizabeth Southerland, is on as well, and of course me, going to talk about the loan side of things. So Deanna, if you can go ahead and start off and introduce yourself, and we'll just go from there.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Deanna Green. I am with Keller Williams, and I'm a realtor, Florida realtor. And just happy to be here.
How about you, Jonathan?
Hi, Jonathan Wolaver. I'm a realtor here in Panama City, Florida, with Think Real Estate. Actually, broker associate. Been in the business for about 5 years now, and excited to get on this powwow and share some info.
Absolutely. And then I've got Elizabeth.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth. I'm a licensed title agent and partner at Southwick Title. I kind of cover the entire state of Florida, but mainly in the Florida Panhandle. I'm excited to learn. I love to learn about all the new products that have come out and learn from my wizards here. And everyone here is so knowledgeable, and I'm thankful to be here.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. And then I've got Danielle.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danielle. I am new to real estate. I joined Keller Williams in the end of December, so I am excited to learn and grow with you guys.
Yes, and we're so excited to have you, Danielle. So, as you all may or may not know, my name is Leah Jones. I am a loan officer and team lead here in Buck Mortgage Solutions. I cover the whole state of Florida as well as Texas at this time. And I've got some amazing experts, like I said here, and we just wanted to come and share some amazing things with you guys regarding the market, regarding, tips, advice, guidance on getting you through the process. And having different experts from different parts of this field in real estate, I felt like was so important. And I'm so glad that Deanna kind of she actually really started this thought in my head. She was like, you should bring together like 8 people and do this. And I was like, okay, let's figure this out. So I got to give kudos to Deanna. I cannot keep that out because she was really like the driving force in helping me get there. Then I just was like, let's do it. So I'm super excited to bring you guys the first one this year from us. And just kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it. So if you guys have any questions, there is a chat button for you guys in the in this webinar. So if you have questions or something comes up during the process, definitely feel free to ask. We will have a Q&A session later dedicated to questions, but also that way you can have those in there too. So kind of want to just start with a little bit of the lending side. I know that a lot of times we get questions on how do we even start the process, right? And how do we kind of get through getting to the closing table, right? And so I think the biggest question that I get right now from everybody is, Leah, what's the interest rates, right? And I'm like, it's a lot. It could be anything right now. So a lot of times we get that question because I know social media, the news, everybody talks about interest rates right now. That's like the hot topic when it comes to mortgages. What are the interest rates? What are the interest rates? And it's like, there's a lot of things that encompass that number. I can't just throw out a number to you, right? So getting people to understand that, the market changes based off of multiple things. It changes based off the economy. It changes based off of things that are happening, right? Whether it be immediate or things that are more long-term. And so the best thing that I like to guide my clients on and to understand is change that mindset of just the interest rates to more of what are you comfortable with? And that's kind of the perspective that I give from a loan officer side is I understand the interest rates are what they are. We are seeing a decline. I will say that over the last couple of weeks, but a lot of people think that we're going to get 3%, 2% again. I can't promise you that. I don't know. But what I can tell you is if you are ready and you're comfortable, then this is definitely where you want to be and learning today about some of the things we're going to talk about, because it's more about what you're comfortable paying every month, not just the interest rate, because interest rates are always going to go up and down. And the most important thing that you can do is figure out where you're comfortable at. And if that tells you that this is the right time to buy. So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about and just understanding the market as well. Let me ask you guys, Deanna and Jonathan and Danielle, sorry. Some of the things that you guys are seeing when it comes to interest rates and it comes to some of the clients coming to you, what are they saying, when it comes to that topic?
I guess I'll go first. Pretty much the interest rate with it being so, high, that takes away from their buying power, and most folks, that's first time home buyers, they don't have the income to match. So I noticed lower um, approval rates, prices, with that. So, that always sucks, but I mean, you need at least, to get a decent house. I mean, there's no more 120 houses anymore, and some of them are in that range of 125 approval. And this is somebody that's on a fixed income. Not fair,
Yeah.
but, pretty tough.
Exactly.
You're right. For me, I would say, like Leah, we work a lot together. And so, what I try to do with my clients on the buyer side, whether, they are on a, lower approval side or even higher, their concerns are the interest rates and prices, purchase prices. And so I just try to, I get them connected with Leah, and I first and foremost tell them like, hey, yeah, interest rates are high, but let's look at what we can do on the negotiation side to help on the closing costs and to try to buy that rate down for you to get you comfortable in it. And I wouldn't say that I've seen too many people scared or kind of back away from it, because if in most cases, most people, they really want to make a move. Most cases for first time home buyers, they aren't, looking to buy their forever home. And sometimes in that process, they think they are, like then when they start, they think they're like this is the biggest purchase. So they're thinking this is their forever home. So they can get discouraged when they see a lower pre-approval. But what I do is just try to ease them to say, hey, look, especially if it's a younger couple, look, your family is going to grow, right? You're more likely going to have children. You're going to change jobs potentially or grow within the company you're in. So that income will go up. But let's look at what you can get right now, and let's find what's comfortable for you and what could make you happy, and look down the road, whether that's 2, 3 to 4 years down the road where you're going to upgrade, because that's typically what we see people do. And just work, ease them on that, because it is scary. But and we can all agree with the social media and everything and news, they are very scared, right? They're being told all kind of different things. So but as far as all my past clients, and just in this last year or so, when they close, they get to what they're comfortable. We try to find out what we can get them in a comfortable payment side of it, and they're mostly happy.
Yeah. Awesome. How about you, Danielle? Are you seeing anything right now that you feel is affecting a lot of our clients' thought process when it comes to the rates?
No, I've only worked with maybe, 1 or 2 people, and I think those 2 people. But I think their main concern would be like not the interest rate. They're more so worried about like monthly payment and the down payment. So that's really their main concern. But like I said, I haven't worked with too many people because, like I said, I was new. But I am seeing them concerned with the monthly payment one.
Yeah,
Which
definitely.
I think that's that's good. I like to that type, because you can work with folks. The hard part is obviously when it comes to inventory, like what's their purchase power, right? And so there's not a lot of homes out there, in a certain range from it. So we try to speak on, Danielle, what you was talking about, like as far as down payment. I always like to look for, as get with Leah and say, hey, what type of programs out there for them, that can potentially help with down payment and closing cost assistance, and just to let them know all those options, and try not to overload them, but just so they can be comfortable and look that way. And because then if I do run into anybody that's scared of the interest rate, I just always go back to that. Like, hey, like let's not look at that number. Let's look at the comfortable mortgage payment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the comfortable mortgage payment for you, and then see what type of house that is. Because a lot of times someone may say they want to be, in a, let's just say a $2,000 monthly mortgage. And so that puts them in a certain type of house, but they may be willing to, and they could go up. I'm not saying that if they're not maxed up at the 2,000, right, that they can afford, but they can look at it. They potentially may want to go up an extra, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 to be more comfortable in a home that they want, instead of saying, hey, I just want to spend $2,000 a month. Well, maybe I would do $2,500 because I can, and it's going to put me in the home that I'll be most comfortable and enjoy my family.
Yeah, definitely. And Elizabeth, I'm curious from your aspect and perspective, because obviously a lot of what we do tends to be at the front end, right? Getting them pre-approved, and then, my realtors getting them under contract, and then getting it through, right? And then you see them at the closing table. You're seeing at the very end, once we finalize that rate, we finalize that cost, and you're kind of having that conversation. So I'm curious from your perspective, what kind of things buyers are saying once they get to your end.
I think that, we get the question a lot, as far as, should I refinance this when the rates go down? And that's another question that I have to, when I say that loan officers, especially like you, Liah, are magicians or it's magic, because I don't know how you keep all of the new programs and the new, requirements and the new legislations and all of that stuff in your head. I don't know how, because it changes so much. Yeah. It's like you get some ingredients and you make a final product out of it. And so I always kind of refer people back to their loan officers, because, a lot of times I don't even know the interest rate till I'm looking at that final CD as we're signing the paperwork. And, the people will ask us about these, buy down rates or things like that. And, I always kind of redirect back to the loan LO, because in reality, we have seen the interest rates getting as low as they did was definitely what I consider a poison pill. Because what you've got now is you've got people holding on to these houses that they don't want to be in, but they think they should get this much for, that when we equalize back to a little bit to reality, they would get this much for. So you're seeing kind of it's not like I'm resigned to like having this interest rate or this payment. It's like, it's kind of more of a hopeful, like, eventually I could probably get this better, and maybe in the year, but right now I'm in the house I wanted. In the house, and that's just how it works. And I think, you get there people like, is this the worst one you've seen all day, or is this the best one you've seen all day? And I'm like, I really don't even look sometimes, because it's to me, I've got so many things, like you said, at the back end that I'm trying to make sure worked. The title's good, title insurance is fine and everything. And so, but I haven't seen like a degree of panic or sadness, but I have seen that the affordability is what the problem has become, as far as just getting the sellers to come back down to where we should have been, and then having the buyers to meet in the middle there. That equilibrium is starting now for me to see is kind of catching back up to each other, expectations and reality.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. Expectations and reality. That is a big, that's a good one, Elizabeth. That's definitely of real estate, and a lot of what we do, and y'all know, is emotional. It's so emotional. There's so much emotion behind selling. There's so much emotion behind buying that, if you're a first time home buyer and you're watching this, like, it's okay to be in that space. You are probably going through one of the biggest decisions you've gone through in your life, and that's okay. And that's why you get experts like that's on this call to help you, guide you through. And this market is definitely one where there's a lot going on right now in our world. And I think when you have people like the individuals you see in front of you who are dedicated to what we do, we're passionate about what we do. We don't care if you have $1 in the bank or $1 million in the bank. We all will help you through the process, and we all truly believe that. And so when you're talking about getting someone to guide you through this market, even if you're not watching in our areas in Florida, maybe you're in a different area, but make sure that you're talking to individuals who sound passionate but are also knowledgeable, because there's a lot of ways that we can help you overcome the higher interest rates. I'm not going to say they're high, right? But they're just higher than what they've been in the last couple of years, right? But honestly, they're, like I said before, they're actually coming down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So we've actually been seeing a downward trend, which is great for those who are already tight in their purchasing power. You've heard Jonathan, you've heard some of the other realtors talk about purchasing power, right? And so that's really important as a first-time home buyer to understand, like, your purchasing power, that's that number on that pre-approval letter, right? That's your purchasing power, and that can increase or decrease depending on the interest rates. However, there's other factors that can help you, right? And our team here, we are very knowledgeable about things like buy downs, right? Helping you buy down your rate, right? Getting a seller to give you some concession to help you buy down your rate. There are other programs when we talk about affordability. The biggest thing that, and I know you guys would probably agree with me, that we're starting to get more questions on is down payment assistance. Like, okay, I got the income, but I don't really have the assets to cover everything that encompasses buying this home. I can afford it dollar wise, but I can't actually afford it pocket wise. Like, I don't have 10, right? I don't have 12 grand. So I think that's the next part of it outside of interest rates is we're seeing the affordability in a sense of not so much income, but actually trying to get and obtain the house through some of the costs. And obviously we've got a number of programs available. So with that being said, what do you guys feel like? Do you feel like there's an increase in that, right, in the last couple of months, or do you feel like it's been pretty stable the last year in terms of the amount of people that need this kind of down payment assistance?
Well, for me, as far as needing, it's really kind of been like a 50-50, you know, that with the people I've talked to, but I just always, I mean, for me, I always just bring it up, you know, even if they have money, because why wouldn't you, right? Why wouldn't you? Now, I know that sometimes some of the programs, you know, will cause you to have a potential higher interest rate, right? And then if we talk like about some of like Rehouse Bay, you know, Ship, or you know, Hometown, what is it called? Hometown Heroes, the Hometown Heroes. You know, I just always bring it up because, I mean, at the end of the day, I love to keep cash in my client's pocket, you know, and so I just, you know, try to go over all those with them and say, hey, we're going to look at this. And I'm a listing agent too. I'm a buyer's agent and a listing agent. I'm going to work all sides, but I tell we're going to ask for closing costs. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, why not shoot the shot? You know what I mean? Like, it's not because you're trying to be greedy or anything, but it's just about this is a game, right? As far as like, it's negotiation it takes a lot of negotiation, and that's a skill that you should have as a realtor, and what you should want in your realtor. You know, you don't want anybody that's going to say, hey, oh, this house is 350. All right, let's just offer 350 and da da da. Like no, let me run comps on this property. Yeah, they're asking 350, but I think it's potential that we could get an appraisal at 342, 345. Let's make an offer based off of that, and then also still ask for some closing costs, and we may get it right, you know, up close to that 350 or even back at 350, but getting you the closing costs. So I've like I said, I've ran into both, where there's some people that's like, hey, yeah, I could use it. You know, I do need the money. But, you know, typically, like, you know, when I send someone to you, Leah, you know, you let us know, hey, like, well, they will need this. We haven't had anybody really that came to that point to where it's like they need it all the way, right? They have some funds. So, but we're going to ask for that. And then as far as the down payment assistance, if it's any government, you know, bond programs or anything like that, yeah, like, let's see if it makes sense for you to get those. Especially like Hometown Heroes. Hometown Heroes, I'm not a huge fan with Hometown Heroes. I really not, unless you're just going to live in this Bay County or wherever it is forever, because it's it can, if you're military, or if you you know, if you're someone that's looking to move in a certain amount of time, like it I don't think it benefits too many people on that side of it, because I've ran into, I'm dealing with it with a property that we're renting now, but you know, she took the funds and then she wanted to sell actually a little earlier than she really needed to sell, and so it just kind of has her, you know, upside down in that property. So we just decided to rent it. So that one, I'm, like I said, I'm always forthcoming with how that one could turn out to be. So, but yeah, always seeking to save money, cash.
Absolutely. And I know, Deanna, I know you say that all the time too. Like, I'm going to ask for those closing costs.
Yeah. Whether you need it or not, you know, they're going to pay you to purchase their home. That's my little motto, you know. Now
Right.
it changes now, guys. You know this, if there is a, you know, multiple offers on that property, you know. So sometimes, you know, it's like, okay, we got to come by, make it worth it, you know.
For sure.
Whether it's an inspection contingency, quick close, you know, that type thing. But I'm always going to ask. I am. Yeah. Let's just, you know, keep that money. You're going to need things for your house. You know, you need to keep your nest egg. I don't want you to spend it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get a lot of negotiations. And then they're giving you 6%, and then the roof is jacked up. So guess what? You're gonna give us 6%, and I'm gonna negotiate your new roof. So yeah, I ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's awesome. Elizabeth, were you about to say something? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say a lot more of our contracts. There was a point in time where negotiations were just so fast, and the market was such a demand, and the interest rates were low. You weren't seeing any contracts come across with this closing cost assistance, or, you know, a percentage of the, you know, 3%, 2%, whatever it was. Now a lot, especially on primary, a lot of the contracts we see coming across our desks have a closing cost or down payment, seller concession on there, and they vary wildly, but they are definitely becoming more and more prevalent, as they were prior to that, like, crazy 2021 year. So you know, I definitely think ask for it, because you're right. You never know, you know, what could happen. You're going to need money to move. You're going to need money to set up. I mean, even just like going to the water department, you might need money to put down there for like some ridiculous reason. That's how that works. I know in Panama City Beach, like, that's just how you got to go bring them a check. Like, that's something that you might not have realized was a thing, and it is. And as you become a homeowner, while it is scary, it's much more beneficial. But it is still there are sometimes there are going to be expenses that, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of funds in your account. Just, and the fact that sellers are willing to agree, because in reality it's unrealized money. Yeah, it's just not in their account, so it's money that's coming off the top. So it's you know, I'm not a great negotiator, so that's not really my realm, but I am seeing more of it, and I do think it is beneficial to ask for those closing cost assistance and seller concessions.
Right.
Yeah, because I see people, you know, they purchase homes and can't even do window treatments, and I think that's a problem. You know, people are, you know, and you know, those get expensive, but I see it all the time, and I'm just, we're gonna use that money somewhere else. You know,
definitely. Danielle, were you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Well, I think that, you know, understanding, you know, some of this, if you are watching your first time home buyer, or just getting back into the market as a buyer and you haven't bought in a while, you know, the market definitely looks different today than before. And so I kind of wanted to start with just some of that. And so I wanted to share this with you. I actually pulled a report, specifically it's in Bay County, so it's 32404 zip code, but still gives you an idea of Florida, right? So the median list price actually has increased in February to about 339.9, which is up 4.5%. And the active listings have actually went up to about 341. And this is up about 35.9%. And we saw 18 new listings in the last 5 days. And this is, I pulled this on Friday. So we're seeing more listings come to market in the Bay County area. And I would assume that it's probably a similar story. If I were to pull this in different parts of Florida, it's probably a similar story for our state. And we have seen the median days on market go down just a bit, about 16%. So that means that buyers are becoming more active. And so if you are a first-time home buyer, the reason I wanted to start off with just a little bit about what's going on in the market, interest rates and understanding some of what we were talking about when it comes to affordability is because if you are somebody that is like, okay, this is the year, right? This is the year I want to either get ready or I'm ready or I think I'm ready. I want to share and we want to share a little bit about what that process is going to look like for you, right? So if you're like, all right, I'm doing it and I want to take these next steps to becoming a home buyer, that process, we're going to discuss a little bit of that. So, at the beginning, when you're thinking about it, you need to be contacting an expert. So whether it be the loan officer, whether it be a realtor, you need to be contacting an expert. If you're contacting the realtor, they're going to connect you with their loan officer, right? So if you're contacting the realtor, say, hey, I think I'm ready, and all of that good stuff, that realtor is going to have a buyer consultation with you, right? You're going to have a consultation with that realtor. You're going to talk about a few things. Everybody has their own way of doing it, but they're going to get some information. They're going to talk with you. They're going to find out what your goals are. What are you looking for? Things like that. Because it's important to know. And if you don't know, that's okay. Everybody doesn't know what they want. But if you know, definitely share that with your realtor because, if you're somebody that isn't too fond of manufactured homes, we got a lot in Florida, and you only want to stick to single family, that's important because maybe your budget may get you more options as a manufacturer than a single family. But if your realtor doesn't know that, you don't even like that, then they don't know to exclude that from the list, right? So having that and understanding and talking to your realtor first and having that conversation, or your loan officer, whichever one you end up meeting first, have a conversation. If it's your realtor first, they're going to refer you to a loan officer. If it's myself, I'm going to actually also have a buyer consultation with you. And the reason that I do that is because as a loan officer, it's important for me to get your story for the lending side. Because when you go and we send everything to the lender, they don't know you. They don't know you. They just see numbers. They see numbers and they see data. That's all they see and documents, right? And so it's my job to make sure that I create this whole story, right? Package it together and send it to the lender, right? That's my job. I kind of sound like the lawyer or the doctor, right, of finance, because I have to, if I'm the lawyer of finance, I'm having to state your case, right, to a lender to say, hey, this person is able to afford this amount of money, right? We're going to lend them hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars, and I can tell you based on what I found that they can afford it, right? So that's kind of how you have to think of your loan officer. Like they have to have this story and send it to that lender. So you're gonna have a buyer consultation. If it's me, it'll be a buyer consultation, and then we go through the process. And our process is very straightforward. Most lenders, you're gonna do an application, whether it's in person or online. Once you do that application, they will most likely ask you for documents. They should ask you for documents if they're doing a pre-approval, because we have to verify the information that you put in that application. So if you put that you worked at this job for 2 years, we need to verify that information, and we need to verify income. That's the best way to ensure you're getting the best numbers out of that pre-approval. Of course, we're going to pull credit. Depending of different options will determine what kind of credit pull we would do, whether it be a soft pull or hard pull. Most lenders are honestly going to do a hard pull. So just know, like, if you're working with a lender, they're probably going to do a hard pull, and they may pull your credit up front before even looking at anything else. That's not my process. My process is I do like to look at income first, because I do not like to pull income or a credit willy-nilly. I think that's silly to do that. I like to make sure that the income is in line first, because if your income's not even in line, I don't have a loan for real. So then I have to come back to you and say, hey, client, this is where I'm at. I don't have there's not enough income here. Do we have options? And then we come together. Maybe there's an option. Maybe we can add somebody on the loan. Sometimes that happens. Maybe we can add a parent or somebody like that, and we can make that work and move forward. So, but your lender's going to ask you for authorization to pull credit. They're going to do their review. Everybody's different. I know our turn times right now are within 24 to 48 hours. Some are 72 hours. So you got to talk to whoever you're doing your loan with to have that conversation. And then you should get your pre-approval. So that's going to be that letter that tells you what we were talking about earlier, that purchasing power. So once you have that letter in hand, that tells you, okay, this is the number that I can shop at, right? And then I can't speak for other lenders. I can only speak for me at this point. So what we do is we will actually send you with your pre-approval a video breakdown of exactly what you qualify for. So we're going to tell you, hey, you qualify for $200,000 or $250,000. Here are your options. So we talked a little bit earlier about different programs, right? I know some of my realtors have mentioned a couple of different things. Well, we've got a lot of programs. So if you've identified that, hey, I'm going to need some assistance, guess what? We're going to present that to you at pre-approval. We're going to say, here's option one. It's 10,000 assist. Here's option 2 if we go 5% assist. Here's option 3 with no assist. So you can see and have a clear understanding before you ever start offering on a home what your options are on that pre-approval. That's so, so important, because too many times lenders just send out pre-approvals and then you're stuck looking like, oh, okay, I didn't know I had to come up with 3.5%. Yeah, you did. That was the FHA loan that you qualified for, right? But the lender didn't do the best job of explaining that. And so that's where I'm trying to rewrite the game a little bit and just make sure clients understand that you want to be very clear and very upfront about what it is you can and cannot do. Because if it's so much easier for me to go, hey Deanna, hey Jonathan, hey Daniel, I've got this client, they're pre-approved. Here's where, or Danielle, here's where they're pre-approved at, and here's the numbers, right? And this is what we need. We need 3% seller concession. No matter what we do, we gonna need 3%, right? It's so much easier for Danielle and Jonathan and Deanna to go back and go, okay, cool, I can negotiate that, right? Than just to be like, oh, we got to guess and figure out what we got to do, right? And so you want to make sure that you have these numbers. If your lender's not getting that for you, ask for it. Be like, hey, what are my options here? Like, does this include assistance? Does it not? Right? If it does, what does that do to my interest rate? What does that do to my payment? You want to be very informed, if you're a first-time home buyer, of all of your options. You want to know that everything's still an estimate though, but you want to know, what am I expected to pay on this, right? What's my monthly payment expected to be? What is my taxes expected to be? What is my closing costs expected to be? What are my upfront costs, right? Because you got some of that. So once you find that home, right, you're going to take your pre-approval letter, you're going to go shop. And that's the fun part, right? You go shop with your realtor, you're going to go have fun, go see a bunch of beautiful houses. And then you're going to find that one, right? And then you're going to write up, like I was saying, an offer with your realtor. Y'all going to write up an offer. That's not my wheelhouse. I just give y'all the numbers and they do their thing, right? So I stay in my lane and I let them do their thing, right? They are going to negotiate for you. They're going to negotiate. So what can happen is your offer can be accepted immediately. Great, cool. Or it could be countered. The seller could be like, I really like that. I want to make some edits. And you can accept or not accept. And you can go back and forth, right? So depending on how that goes, your offer will then get accepted. And at that point, you come back to me. If the offer is accepted, we got an offer, we're under contract, and then we start the loan process with the lender, right? We lock in your rate. We get you into underwriting, right? And I tell my first-time home buyers, please don't be scared of underwriting. I know there's some scary stories out there on social media and people talking about all kinds of things that happen in underwriting, but just know that everybody's process is different, and the more we can do up front, the better. So if we can get ahead of things and you're being open, honest, and transparent with your home buying team, which is your lender and your realtor, you're being transparent with them, it will be a smoother process in underwriting. The more that you're honest and open about it, the easier it'll be. If you try to hide anything, they're going to find out in underwriting. And that's not a good feeling to have to come back, be told something, and then have to come to you and say, oh, hey, the underwriter said this, right? And you're like, oh, yeah. And now I got to figure out how to get us out of it, right? And play and do magic sometimes. And sometimes I can't. Sometimes we have to pull out the contract. And that's the worst feeling, to have to call my realtor and be like, hey, we found this out in underwriting. It's not a good feeling. So make sure if you're a first-time home buyer that you're being open and honest with your team, because they want to get you through that underwriting process as quickly as possible, right? So understanding that you're going to go through underwriting. Everybody has to, right? And that underwriter is the one in charge of whether you get approved or not me. I help you through, but I can't issue your final approval. I wish I could, trust me, because then I'll probably really be issuing them in 2-3 days for real. So but we have some really great underwriters, and we have, you're gonna have a mix. You're gonna have some that are amazing and some that are a little hard to work with, but they got the right one, because I'm gonna fight for your loan every single time. Okay. So with that being said, you're going to have you're going to just make sure that if they ask you for anything, if your lender asks you for anything, just provide it to them, because they're not trying to hassle you. They're not trying to harass you. They're just trying to get you through the process as smooth as possible, right? So, once you get to that process, you're going to have a couple things happening, like your appraisal, your survey, your home inspection. All of those things are going to take place throughout that process to get you to the final approval and get you to the closing table. So I know I said a lot of things, but I wanted to just share, as a first-time home buyer, what the timeline kind of is, what those steps are, right? From pre-approval to the end of it. Obviously, at the very end is your final approval. That means that you've done everything, you've checked everything off the list, the appraisal's good, everything's good. and we're getting you to the closing table, see Elizabeth, and you're going to sign your documents. So, that's kind of the goal, right? Is to get you to that closing table, and understanding what that process entails. And so there's a lot that can happen in between there. People's credit scores can drop. I've had that happen, believe it or not, right? So I don't want you to panic if you're a first-time home buyer. You can, with us, do loans even if your scores are 580, even if it's a 590. We can still do that loan for you. And even with assistance, I have assistance programs that will still help you, even if your score is not the best. And that's okay. I think lenders are understanding that people are in a different place now. And so they're opening up their opportunities. Yeah, it's going to cost a little bit. Your rate's going to be, understand there's a give and take to it, but there are options available for those who may have lower credit scores. So don't count yourself out if you're a first time home buyer. Just be willing to talk to one of us and get an expert opinion before you count yourself out. Anybody had kind of a little bit more to add to that? Just kind of wanted to go over the process before we dive into any specifics.
Well, what I do when I do my consultations, I get to know the individual, but if I'm going to push them over to you, Leah, and whoever I push them through, I have them go ahead and gather all those documents, put them in a file, because you're going to need them, out the gate, where you won't be scrambling to do all that. So the process, and Leah, I just got to give you your kudos. Your approval video is top tier. It explains everything. I've never saw that. So keep that up, because I like it. So I love that. Option 1, option 2, maybe even be an option 3. So I love that. That explains a lot to an individual first-time home buyer and some of these, existing buyers. It breaks it down. It breaks it down for me as well. Like, I know what I need to ask for. So I love that. I just want to give you that. Kudos.
Thank you.
No, you're right, Deanna. Those options, the breakdowns are just amazing because we get those questions right from the buyer, because we are spending the personal time with them, so you get those questions, and so it's easy for me to refer back to those and say, hey, these were your options here, which which one looks the best for you, and so yeah, those are amazing to get, because it's easy to go back. So then when they have a question down the road, you can say, because I've had it times where they're like, well, I don't remember this. I can just say, hey, look, let's look back at this. Like these were the options, and this was the option that you went with. And like I said, this is always good, because instead of just getting the one option, this is what you're pre-approved for, this is what it is. There's so many different scenarios, and like we my buyers, we'll do like a kind of like a email thread with us in it, right? And then so I'm like, hey, just ask the question. Hey, what you think is like, now I know sometimes it probably could be overwhelmed, because they're asking like almost about the same property. It'd be giving me $5,000 off. I'm like, hey, I mean, it's just 5,000. Like, it's not going to change that much. So like, let's not stress her to say, hey, give me this on this price. But being able to see that is major, because, and if you can, and like you in your buyer consultations, is if you can just kind of go over, I typically try to go over multiple scenarios for them, and so then we can get those from you, and so we can is easily to play the game then, right? We know exactly what we're going into, know what the next play will be if this play doesn't work, and go that route, because I know when I started early, you were running the times where it's like, all right, you'll get this, and they ask a question, and like, oh, well, let me ask the lender, and then you wait for that question to get answered, and you go back and go back and forth. So it's it's very refreshing to have what you and your team does for our buyers, for sure.
Awesome. Perfect. So, as a buyer, if you're in this market and you're like, okay, I know what I need to do now, right? Because I just explained kind of a very fast and simple way, but just a timeline of getting pre-approval to getting you to that final approval, and getting qualified. And so, a lot of people like to ask, okay, what credit score do I need? I just kind of talked about a little bit, right? For us, we're not some of the local banks. We don't need a 640. We can go down to 580. So if you got a 580, you're in the game, right? Believe it or not, you can actually go lower than 580 if you got 10% and you're like, hey, I got money I can put down. Okay, great. Well, then we can help you then lower than 580, right? So there are ways that you can qualify, even with different credit scores. Um, so I don't want you as a first time home buyer to feel scared about, oh my God, I just don't know, or I don't, I need to get my credit up to 680, because honestly, like, and I made a post about this the other day. If you're thinking that you need a 680 or 700 to get a better payment, that's not necessarily going to be the case, because especially if you are somebody at 580 and somebody at 620 or 640 or even 660 are going for the same program, guess what? The rates are pretty much the same. Your payment's not going to be any better. So why wait yourself out because you want to get a higher credit score if the payment isn't going to make any difference, right? And even for those that may have a higher payment, right, or slightly better interest rate, it's not the rate itself, it's really the cost of the rate. So each rate has a cost to it. And so if you're somebody at 600 versus somebody at 660, well, your payment difference may actually be so marginal. You know, you're talking maybe 10, 20, $30 difference in payment. Of course, I'm just going off of average numbers right now, but your payment's going to be so marginally different that don't wait yourself out is essentially what I'm saying, because you can qualify even with lower rates. If you got the income and you got a solid job, right? We can prove your income. And I'm not talking about commission. Like if you just went commission this year, that's not gonna work. But if you've been W-2 for a while, or if you've been 1099 for a year or more, right? You have salary job, you got an hourly job. It's okay if you just started that hourly job. That's okay. We can still take it as long as you've got 2-year history. That's fine. We can still qualify you. So a lot of people tend to just count themselves out for whatever reason because of their credit score or whatever. But like a lot of people, when they finally do come to us and they have the conversation, they realize, oh man, I actually could qualify. And it's like, yeah, we could qualify you. Like, so don't count yourself out is all I'm saying is there are many ways to qualify you. And there are many alternative methods that we can use on the lending side to help somebody. Trust me, I want to qualify you, right? Because I want to get you to the closing table. So we're going to look at different options. And a lot of times right now, I think you guys are probably seeing it. I don't know. I know Danielle, we got a couple people too, but I think the biggest issue right now is credit. Would you guys agree with that right now?
Yes.
Yeah, credit for me, yeah.
And then their DTIs are just, that's another problem that I have with folks with good credit, but that DTI is just high.
I think too, just like what you're talking about, people just don't think they can qualify. I mean, I even had family members when I bought my first house years and years and years ago, and I was in flight attendant training at Delta Airlines, making minimum wage, and my husband at the time wasn't making that much either. And I had a cousin and my stepbrother were like, how could they buy a house? My mom was like, because they have jobs. Like that's literally it. Like so many people just, if you would only talk to Liah or any like someone would know that it's not, you don't have to have a 700 or 780 credit score and make $1 billion a year. You just have to be a little responsible. Not that even that much. I mean, I wasn't, and just ask. So I think it's so great. Just like people are just afraid, and don't be, because no one's going to judge you if they say, you know what, we got to work on a few things first. Like just opening up that door, because it's really not that hard.
No, you're right. It's the number one thing is to ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Because I bought my house. It's been almost 5 years ago, and it wasn't until I became a realtor, and I didn't ever try to buy a house before. But previously becoming in real estate, I had a heck of a job for the past 10 years, and had a great, made a great income in the last probably 7 years of that career. I mean, I was making real good money, but I continued to rent. I had a credit. I had, I'm not even ashamed, because I like to throw this story out to my clients. I've had 2 repossessions, on vehicles, and I was able to buy, I didn't even know it until I started getting pre-approving clients. And when I first started, and I told my wife, I'm like, I make more money than these people, and they're getting qualified for a house. We need to buy a house. She's like, you sure we can? I'm like, I don't know, but I mean, if they can, we can, right? And so then at that time I was scared. Even I'm like, oh, maybe only like 180,000, like I'm scared. And then like you can get 185, and then it comes out like, oh, you could actually go to this amount, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And that's the thing, it's the education part of it, buy with me, you're gonna learn the process.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn it. You ask as many questions. Leah, I'll be texting you like, hey, and I'm like, hey, let's just pick up the phone, whatever. It's I mean, the resources, if you don't know, you don't know. And that's why it's very important to be connected with the right professionals, because
Right.
all professionals aren't good professionals. And my whole thing with my clients, okay, you get a $300,000 approval. But you think about this, what do you want to pay? I want you under that approval rate. That's just my motto. I mean, an extra, if they don't do the whole 300, if they spend 280, it's not that much of a difference in my commission. And if it was, I wouldn't force them in these higher level homes when you got to live too.
Right.
That's just my thing with it. I mean, that's great if you want to go with that $300,000 home, but think about those payments.
Yeah.
So,
Biggest thing is what I learned too, is a lot of time is especially like first time, home buyers, they, I'm gonna say we, because I was one of them, we listen to people that aren't professional. And we also listen to people saying things that you probably shouldn't do. It's hard, it's tough. You might not be able to can afford it. The market is going to crash. It's going to go down. Interest rates are high, and so a lot of people spend a lot of time in fear and are afraid to ask those questions. I look at it as in general in life, a lot of times we are on a lot of things to ask questions. So we always sit in the dark, and we're always blind to things we can't even go out to see in anything more than just real estate, right? So it's just about, when you feel something, and I'm a believer, as well in Christ. And so I believe when you get something in your head, and it's anything that is positive for you or your family, for anyone else, that is coming from God. So like always pursue on that, go for it. You know what I'm saying? So if you think you can be a homeowner, figure out those next steps. To type in, just Google, quick search, how to become a homeowner. The first thing I'm going to tell you is to find a loan officer or a realtor, or those type of things. And so just always put your foot forward on anything that's positive that you want to do for yourself when it comes to that, because buying a home, especially buying a home at a good price, is a start. Is life changing. Not because you're getting a new home, it's because equity. I bought my house at 185 in 2020, and I put in $30,000 and myself, and in 2.5 years my house was worth $345,000. And currently right now it's kind of sitting at the same rate because of what the market did, but that's life changing. If I wanted to sell my house, and it took me. Now, fortunately, I was a realtor, so I got a check too, right? I got a check to buy my house, and so that pretty much paid my down payment, and so and I did all the work myself too. So that cut out a lot of costs. But even still, if I had to pay somebody even double of that, I'm still up, crazy. And so it's just life changing when you purchase a home. And that's why I like to tell a lot of my first time home buyers clients, like I said in the beginning, don't, like you just said, don't try to stretch that pre-approval out. Find something that you can buy and put a little bit of love into down the road, whether that's, I'm gonna update the bathrooms down the road, update the kitchen down the road, flooring, those things right there. Because more equity you build in it is when you do want to sell it, you're going to have some play in there to make some money and do something different. So ask those questions, have someone that's familiar with the market, ask someone that's just not trying to just put you in a pretty house, find someone that's going to best suit you and knows what your goals are. And so 4 years down the road, we can potentially put $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in your pocket when you sell this house, and it only costs you potentially, if you got closing costs, if you got down payments, it might only cost you $15,000, if that. We've seen some people get in with some would bring $200 to the closing table.
Yeah.
Like that feels so good. I mean, it just
Or
feels
I'm
so
refunding
good
their
when you
earnest
can
money
get
back
that.
to them.
Yep.
You see, I know you see it a lot, Elizabeth. You be like,
Yeah.
dang, you getting into this? Like
I
you don't have to bring, like you didn't have to wire no money.
That's it.
Like
Right.
Yep.
That's the goal. And another thing too, with these rates, and don't let the rates scare you. Number one, I mean, because when those rates drop, which I hope they will, you will be getting emails, text messages. Hey, now is the time to refinance. I have clients that's waiting to refinance right now. And this is unbelievable on how the rent rate is so expensive, and you're paying 18, 22, those are mortgage payments at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I don't know, but yeah. So, my recommendation, if you think you're there, even if you're not there, I have clients that I'm nurturing over a year, at this point, that's on the way to home ownership. Just start somewhere, call a professional, and make sure that person matches your energy. I mean, I'm the best friend, I'm the counselor, I'm all of that stuff. We become family. It's weird. I have an uncle. I
Right.
repair an uncle in a real estate transaction, and he calls me
Yeah.
almost every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a hoot, and I love him to death. But yeah, so just
Love it.
start somewhere. That's my suggestion.
yeah. One thing
Absolutely.
too, I like to always add, like when you talk about the DTI, right? I have ran into a lot of, especially younger folk, they'll be like, well, I need to get a new car. I'm gonna get a new car before I buy a house. I'm gonna, they'll say that, and then I'm just like, look, hey, let me tell you this: if you want to buy a house, I say buy a house, then buy the car, because you will be able to get an auto loan any time of the day. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to stop
Yeah.
you. The auto loan is
Yeah.
very easy to get. They want to give you the money. So, but if you add that $30,000, $40,000 to your DTI, that's going to put you out of a certain type of house you can get into. So I always encourage people to, if you have that thought process of like, all right, I need to get these assets first. I want to get my cars. Now some people can't help it, right? You might have a car that you're about to break down or something, but I still, and I've had people, I've talked them out of it because I'm like, look, don't do that just because you think you need a new vehicle because you're trying to get this and then this and this. Like, no, get that house because a bank, a credit union will lend you $40,000 very easy, no matter what your house payment is. They're not going to keep you from that. But a mortgage company will not loan because of your DTI because you have a $600-700 car payment. So I just like to, that's something, like I said, I've been doing lately, but I really don't talk about it that much. We typically only talk about when you in a transaction, don't buy a car. You know what I mean? That's typically what we talk about there.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I think you guys have some really good points. Obviously we see it a lot more on our end because we're really in there finances, right? We're looking at those numbers. We're trying to figure out, all right, how can we maneuver these numbers and make it work and maximize their DTI? And that's kind of like my favorite job, and also the hardest job is when I have a low income client who also has low credit, and trying to max out their DTI is hard. And I'll be honest, lenders are getting more difficult to qualify those clients. Qualifying somebody with low credit, low income is becoming more difficult. And so the way that I want to combat that is making sure that I'm more knowledgeable, right? And also sharing that with you guys as my partners, but also the community, and getting them to understand these little things, right? These little things that the realtors just talked about, not getting vehicles before buying. Like these, it may seem like, oh, it's only $400, but $400 can swing how you can get approved. It can swing how much your purchasing power is, even just $400, right? So that, just keep that in mind if you're a first time home buyer, and kind of just be aware, and never feel like you can't ask the question. Like Deanna said, ask questions. Like Jonathan said, ask questions, please do, because we want to help you. So we kind of talked a little bit about that process, a little bit more about what to expect when you're financing. And then Elizabeth, I'd love for you to kind of just share more of the title aspect of what are the things that a first time home buyer should kind of understand about title, like that escrow, that deposit that they have to put in, but then also kind of just a little bit about that closing process too.
So one thing that everyone's probably tired of hearing me harp on this, but when you go and you put an offer on a house, let's make sure we're changing our email passwords. Email and fraud are the same thing sometimes. And so it's the one thing that like I see first time home buyers, which I mean, I had never sent a wire transfer before, when I was doing an earnest money deposit on the first house I bought. But I will tell you that one thing to really be wary of is wire fraud. There are bad actors that get in your Gmail accounts, get in your other, if you are at a hotel and you get on the internet there, you need to be very careful about getting on your accounts and bank accounts and your internet accounts or email accounts, and just making sure that you're changing your password regularly. That helps with fraud immensely. And when you are sending a wire transfer for your earnest money deposit, go ahead and make sure that you're picking up the phone and calling that title company and verbally confirming within the wiring instructions as you go through this process. Your bank account, sometimes people ask us if they can bring cash for the earnest money deposits, and we usually say, are you using a lender? Because the answer to that is no. The reason why we don't let people bring cash, when you're going through a transaction with traditional financing, they're going to want to see where that money's coming from. Typically, they want to know where the money, what account that came out of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But so just making sure that, you're bringing either a check, and typically title companies will accept a personal check for earnest money deposits, but not always. So you want to check and make sure that the funds that you're going to bring are acceptable. Most title companies do not accept ACH transfers, which that's another thing, especially my Bank of America clients. It's very misleading, their portal. We see it all the time. So if you have a Bank of America account, make sure that you're paying attention to if it is an ACH transfer or a wire transfer. And then going through the process, title insurance is I had no idea what it was, but I'll explain it to you, as far as how I would have understood it prior to getting in this industry. So we search your title, make sure it's good to go, but whatever is not found. So say somebody's uncle has a deed in their safe and they decide to record it and it's a threat to your property. Well, in Bay County, sellers pay title usually. In Walton County, it's the opposite, but in Bay County, your seller has paid for your owner's title policy. What that means is we've cleared everything that was recorded. Everything is good to go. There's payoffs are, satisfied, and we've got the HOA documents. If there's a lien on the property, we've cleared that. But just like that uncle that goes and records that deed, we didn't know about that because that wasn't recorded. Well, your home is protected to the purchase price of your owner's title policy, which is the purchase price of your home, against any threat to title. That premium has already been paid. It's a one-time premium. And instead of just like a car insurance is going to insure the future, like if I get in a wreck in a few minutes, then that was something that was in the future. Well, I'm insuring the past. So even though I searched everything and cleared everything, if there was something that wasn't recorded, that nobody knew about, that comes up later, you're already protected up to the purchase price of your home. And my underwriters, my insurers, Stewart Title, will go and they will fight for you. And that premium's already been paid. It's not like you have to keep paying just like your car insurance or your home. So it's kind of an interesting type of insurance, but it's a very small price to pay for huge protection to your property.
And can you believe the investors don't want title insurance? I'm just like,
the cost risk benefit of it is so crazy that sometimes I don't. And you're just like, okay, well, it's unforeseen things that that could happen. And that's just like any insurance. I don't know if someone's going to slam into me at the red light. I don't know if somebody did something back in this chain of title that I could not have predicted. So that's kind of where it's at for that.
Even with off-market properties, folks do not title them. Just like, you gotta be crazy. I don't care if the house is $20,000.
Yeah.
No, the property, they do it all the time, and it burns me up.
Yes, we get calls about these horror stories all the time, and we're just like, I'm sorry, unfortunately, like once the deed is done in some of these cases, especially like when they buy properties or like auction without having them searched or whatever, they spend all this money and then realize they have wasted it all, and that's terrifying.
Okay, title insurance guys. Well, you won't have a choice with us, but
financing, you get title insurance.
Yes,
for sure. Awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that, Elizabeth, because I think a lot of times people are like, well, what's title? I don't know what that is. And so that's why I wanted them to hear from you kind of, what that entails from a title aspect. So I know we're kind of running close to the hour mark. So there's so much we can talk about, guys, but we can't be on here all day. So I definitely will kind of reel it back in, and we will definitely be hopefully doing another one. I hope to do one of these once a month with kind of, similar faces, different faces, however we end up doing it. But Danielle, I'd love for you to kind of share a little bit with our community here. As far as right now, what your strategies are in helping our buyers. I know we talked about a lot of different things, but I'd love for each of you to kind of share that. So Danielle, if you can kind of start with us and share a little bit about what your strategy is in helping buyers in our market today.
So as far as my strategy go, I am basically like the last few people I've been working with. Basically, they let me know, what they were looking for in a home, and then, what they think they can afford a month. And then I ask them about their credit, and then from there, I either contact you, which I've been mainly working with you, and then you basically run through, your whole ordeal, and then my main thing with my last few clients have been like just the credit thing. So that's been a stopping point for me. But that's basically how I would run through it. But like I said, I've been stuck with the whole credit thing with the last few I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
So are they in credit repair, Danielle? Did you have a
Yes,
credit
three
person?
of
Okay,
them. Three
yeah.
of
So she
them.
will be ready soon. And the big
Three of
thing,
them.
sorry, to take with that credit thing, you can pay $2,000 or whatever the case may be. You can pay the money, but you still have to pay your bills on time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put in work as well. You have to pay for the service and put the
Yep.
work in. And a lot of folks don't understand you still got to pay that bill, you know.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it works against, what we're trying to do because, the buyer has to do their part. But go ahead, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So I've been stuck there for like the last two or three people I've been talking to. So I haven't gotten far.
Yeah, definitely.
You're in
The
the good
good
hands.
thing is you have a few people that want to buy, so that
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Especially
So like
being
that's
new.
that's
So
the that's the
Right.
positive part, and you're working towards getting them there. So like and all this is doing for you is building up your storytelling. So 'cause that's what you want to have in this business as a realtor is to be able to be relatable and have stories to tell. So when someone says, "Oh, my credit," you can say, "Hey, I had X, Y, and Z. It took us. May have took this one a month. May have took this one 6 and this one a year. But I know how I can help to get you there."
Yep.
And then the chips will start falling for you on
thank
that.
you.
No, I love that. All right, Jonathan, since you're already on the board, what is your biggest strategy right now for helping
Well,
buyers?
a strategy is like what for my clients. It's just all about comfortability for them. It's my number one thing is to making them comfortable with this process and with easing their fear on things, and their confidence as well in me as how what I can bring, what I bring to the table for them as far as on the negotiation side, and actual that I actually care for them. More is we're not my clients are like you said, Deanna, like they become friends or family, right? That's how I think out of all my transactions, I probably had a couple that I'm like, you know what, if I ain't see you again, you know what I mean, I would be okay. but they still call, you know what I'm saying? So, but you know what I mean? So you have those, but I genuinely, really care for the people I work for, and I want to see them do great. And so that's just really, that my number one goal with them is to making them, comfortable, confident, and in this process. And like I say, I come from, like I told you, I did my home, right? I come from that background, that type of background. So when I go into homes, that's what I'm looking for when it comes with my clients. So I'm looking at those things. I'm looking at the roof line. I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm seeing if there's, I can tell if there's some shifting being done in the concrete or, subfloors and, all those things. I just have that. I like to just get those things out of the way before they walk into the home and they're like, "Ooh, I love this." I'm like, "Hey, yeah, but look at this. Look at the ceiling here. You have this." Or before we walk in the house, look at the roof. This roof, it says it's a was replaced in 2019, 2020. But from my eyes, it looks like there may be some deterioration on it. So this could have defective shingles. Leah, you know, we ran into that with one of our clients, Yasmin, right? The defective shingles. And that held us up for a long time, and the house didn't even work out. So, you know, I like to, and it was something that I kind of knew was coming, but my client wanted to continue forward with it and try to see, you know, but, and so I go that route. I just give my advice on it, but it's the number one thing is making them, you know, confident and comfortable, and know I'm going to do my best to save them money and get them in the right property, because the last thing that you want is to get a phone call that, hey, this something is going down, which that happens too. There's nothing, you can't do everything. You can't solve everything. So, but that's mainly it. And keep them with the right team. Number one, you know, that's who good teams wins championships, right? So you want to have all the players. So I try to have all, work with all Kobe Bryants. That's what I like to. so Leah, you and your team, y'all are Kobe's. Y'all are all Kobe's.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Clutch, hard nose, and will go like dogs in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Like I tell my clients, I say, look, you know, like especially like with Lisa processor, she ain't no joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, she ain't no joke. She
get it done, right?
Sometimes you're like, hey, Lisa, and then when you're like, you know what? Like, those are the type of people you want, because you're not going to fail, you know?
Yeah.
And so I it's always been like my motto, because I look back when I was in the beverage industry, I was in driver sales, and then the manager of like the whole area of Bay County and like 6 other counties. But my drivers and sales be like, man, I don't like this manager. She always on me and that. I'm like, well, why don't you just do what she say? And he's like, I'm like, well, if you do what she say, you can't fail. Because then if you do it and then she can't come back and you say why you did it. So just now, if somebody's asking something outlandish that don't make no sense, but just do what you're asked, and you can't fail at it. So, like I said, always make sure, like I said, knowing the trust that I have a great team, all the way from, like I said, lenders, inspectors, title companies, other realtor partners, you know, and all that. That's kind of what I lean towards when it comes to working with buyers.
Awesome. And then how about you, Deanna? What would you say is your biggest strategy right now in the market?
Jonathan touched on a lot, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll be talking.
Jonathan, Tallahassee, if you need me now. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, just to bring the value to the relationship, you know, give them the resources, you know, educate them. That's my strategy, you know, because these folks, it's the biggest purchase they've ever purchased for the first time home buyers in life. And I want them to feel comfortable and not just scared, you know, and just pretty much bring value to them, you know, even from the first phone call. You know, I got some folks that I met 2 years ago that came back and it was like, yeah, I just like your vibe and da 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 da. And guys, if you're here, please listen to your team, trust your realtor, trust them. You got to get a trustworthy team. I mean, yes, you guys know that. Trust your yes, trust. And when it goes down, Jonathan, to you know, when you walk in the house, if I feel that foundation is shifting, that roof look crazy, I do my research anyway to see, okay, the roof may say 2021 and this is not a 2021. Okay. I look at all that stuff before I even show a property, before I even show it, you know, because I was in local government. I was a planner, planning and zoning and building. I worked in the building department over my career prior to this. And I have eyes for this stuff. You guys would not believe. I really have eyes for this stuff. And, you know, so just listen to your trusted partners. Whether it's Leah, you guys, Jonathan, Danielle, and Title, I always have a great job, a great Title team. Elizabeth, I wish you were here because I would, you know, add you to my list. But just trust your partners.
No, I love your building and planning experience. It just me and the code enforcement and all of that.
Yep,
you know, Jonathan's right. Like, trust your team, because you guys, what people forget is they fall in love with something and they see it on the surface, but you guys see things every day. So, like, it's so important to have trusted like realtors like you guys that know what you're doing, a loan officer that knows what they're doing. Because, and you know, we all get that, oh, my friend's a loan officer. It sends shivers down the spines of all of us. No, get your professional like Liah to help walk you through, because you're a friend and you will not be friends at the end of the transaction when you've lost your earnest money. So
Pretty much.
like that is something like, especially condos in Florida. I mean, we all know like that kind of thing. Like, you don't have a trusted realtor who knows the right loan officer, and the loan officer who knows the warrantables and all of the minutia that none of us understand that they do. That is the key to success.
Yeah.
And you have to have it. So you guys are all fantastic, and I'm very thankful that, you know, I get to communicate with you guys and learn from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, you're right. And I add to, I like to, because like I know with Danielle, with you being new and everything, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, you know, we all start from nowhere, right? And so you can hear me and Deanna, you know, talk about our experience in this and having all this knowledge. A lot of things that I know when it comes to what happens with like financing or deals falling through on inspections and this, that, and the third is because I've been through them, you know, and then things came up, then they made me have to ask questions. So I just remember being so new, and people would talk about, oh, my investor client. They'll talk about this, and you're like, how you got somebody that's willing to offer $250,000 cash? You don't wrote 2-3 offers on different properties for them. Like, where did you meet these people? You know, but what happened, what you'll realize is that you already know these people, and so you have to. Number one thing I say for you, and like I said, I know this is for home buyers, but I always just like to, like I said, pour into new realtors is. You need to let people know who you are and what you do and be knowledgeable. So always get that knowledge and talk to your lender partners and fellow realtors. I know when I started, some realtors don't want to give game, don't want to get gatekeeping, don't want to get game, right?
Oh,
but
Deanna lets me know.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. I can tell she's somewhere because this is what I truly believe when it comes to that is that like, you know, there may be possibility that you might touch the circle of someone else, you know, that's in the business. But I'm a firm believer in is that if someone chooses to work with you, somebody over me, and I knew them, there's no hard feelings there because it was their choice at that moment. So like, but yeah, no, just like I said, just soak that knowledge in, and then next thing you know, you a year be in, and you'll have so many things that possibly some things might happen to you that me and Deanna may have never had happen in the deal, and we've been in our time, right? And like I said, I know I started out, people say, "Oh, I've been in it 20 years," and I'm like, "Well, you should have known this was going to happen." You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I've only been in this many years. You know, so
for me, and I've been through everything. Like my transactions, I have one now under contract. We're about 60 days in, well, 65 with environmental issues, and they will not release the CO on a new construction. So I learned something new every transaction.
Right.
You know, and all the difficult ones, easement issues, environmental, it come to me. So I'm like, you're using that background, definitely.
Right.
So yeah.
Because once you've gotten over it, you're not afraid of it anymore. Once you kind of face that tiger, you can face anything. That's like, I hate not knowing something. I hate it. It's embarrassing. I feel weird. I don't like it. But then after you jump that hurdle, all those other hurdles, you can just lay them flat because it's fine.
Yeah. No, I had a recent one with a buyer of mine. They had a lender. Liah, I tried to get them to come to you from day one.
I'm sure.
I was like, they told me I don't even want to throw this lender under the bus, this institution, I should say. But it was like you just said, like I think the loan officer and the processor were fairly newer, right? And they probably haven't experienced what we were going through, and I'm offering them solutions, right? Like, hey, we should be able to do this, like try this, and they're like, oh, I don't know, never heard of it. Let's just wait and see. And then a time I'm like, no, this could happen. And then a week go by, nothing. And then next thing you know, and then we getting close to the end, and they go, oh, well, yeah, we can try this now. And I'm like, well, I asked you this 2 weeks ago, you know, and like we wouldn't even be here, you know. And so so that's the biggest thing is like because we get embarrassed when we don't know things, right? Because a lot of times we scared to tell our clients that, hey, I got to ask a question or this, that, and the third. But a lot of times when you put that stuff on hold and you don't ask for that help, it's gonna come back and bite you. You know what I mean? Because you're still gonna have to ask for it at some point. So, you know, just because, like I said, like don't be. You never know until you ask the question about what it is you need. So, always try to learn. Sure.
No, I love that. I appreciate everybody for sharing their strategies because, you know, as somebody who is a first-time home buyer, and if you've never gone through the process, you know, hearing it from you guys directly, I think is so important. And I think that's impactful because they get to see the people who kind of the people behind the card, so to speak, the people behind the social media posts or the professional pictures, and get to see, hey, this is like I'm really actually like this, right? Like people ask me all the time, are you actually like, is this who you are? I'm like, yeah, this is really me. Like, this is how I am all the time. Like, I'm excited. I'm passionate about what I do, but I'm honest. I'm gonna be transparent. And if I can't do it, I'm gonna tell you I can't do that. Like, it's not gonna happen, right? Or or I don't like to say no. Let's be honest. I don't really try to say no. I try to say, here's how we can get there, right? It's really about giving you a plan. As a first time home buyer, I want to give you a plan, and unfortunately we have a lot of things going on and a lot of people have credit issues right now. That's the biggest hurdle for a lot of people, and so it's giving them a plan, right? And so I definitely appreciate you guys sharing your strategies because I think people need to hear that. I think people need to like see in real life like what our perspectives actually are, right? Versus just, you know, our marketing, because obviously we're marketers too, right? We market our business, we market ourselves, but also being able to share in this real space of, hey, this is how you get there. And essentially what I want you to take from this, if you're a first-time home buyer, is that just about anybody has the opportunity to buy a home. And I truly believe that. Like if you have a job, and even if you don't have a job, guess what? I got an asset depletion loan for you too. So, you know, if you came into a lot of money, I got a loan for you. If you're self-employed, I got a loan for you. If you ain't got no money, I got a loan for you. So I got a loan for you if you need it. But at the end of the day, I just want you to know that there are options for you. And as a first-time home buyer, if you do have a job and you're stable, if you're working on your credit, you know, and or if your credit is where you need to be, but maybe you're just missing one piece. A lot of times what happens is there's one piece missing. It's like you got the income, got the credit, but maybe you don't have the funds. Okay, I got you on that, right? I got assistance programs. We got realtors here that are gonna help you negotiate seller credit. That's actually the least of my concern is the money side. I got credit issues. I got the money, I got the income, but I don't got credit. Okay, well, guess what? We got a credit team that can help you. She unfortunately couldn't make it today, but she is amazing at what she does. All of us are all tied into somebody that knows how to deal with credit. So you can get somebody who can talk to you about the credit side of things. So yes, that's the longest thing that takes the most time, but it can be done. If you got the credit, got the assets, but don't got the income, all right, well, let's get you an offer letter, because guess what? We can do a loan with an offer letter. So there are options for you as a first-time home buyer. And I just don't want you to be scared of it, and I don't want you to run away from it just because of what everyone else on TikTok and everyone else is saying. Like, just cut out all that noise. Listen to your experts who are here to help you. We're here to guide you. And we want to help you. We can do any loan, right? We can do VA, we can do conventional, we can do FHA, we can do USDA. We're going to help you through the process, and we're going to get you the loan that makes the best fit for you. So, you know, that's what we want to do. Is there anything you guys wanted to discuss before we kind of close this out, or anything I might have missed that y'all wanted to like touch on?
I think we covered the basis, you know, for the first time now. You know, I think we
first one. Yes, definitely.
And your credit
look,
lady. I think one of my clients is with your credit lady. Is she? No name?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I want to think she might be. Yeah, because I sent her a couple people. So
okay. Cool. Okay.
Perfect. Well, look, I honestly appreciate your time. I know we went a little bit over an hour, but I really appreciate every one of you guys for coming on, sharing your expert advice, and just kind of making this a little powwow. This was cool. I really liked it. So definitely, you know, we're gonna, you know, keep going with this. Like I said, I want to do more over the year and just kind of, you know, share this information with you. So if you're a first time you're watching this back, definitely, you know, look out for, you know, information that'll come out with more information over the course of the year. We're going to keep doing these hopefully once a month, where I can have experts on. You may see the same faces, you may see different faces, just going to depend on availability. But I definitely hope that you got something from this. If you want to reach out to us, I will make sure all of the individuals on this call or this powwow's contact information is on the post that you'll probably be seeing this on. So you'll have everybody's contact information below. It's just a lot right now to try to put it everywhere. So make sure you have that. And like I said, just don't count yourself out. Have a conversation with any of us. We're here to help you, even if it's just questions. All of us, I promise you, will help you answer those questions and get you to the right next step. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time today. It has been amazing. And look, you know how to reach us. Like I said, we'll have the information attached to this video. And y'all have a great rest of your week.
You
All right,
too.
thank you as well. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys. It was fun.
Bye.
All right, I'm gonna end this.